Have you ever noticed how the most dangerous storms form in silence? No noise, no warning, just pure unstoppable force. The same is true for a man who walks alone. A man with no friends is a man the world cannot control. When you have no friends, you have no distractions. You stop living for validation and you start living for purpose. Every step you take is for your own growth. Every decision you make is based on your vision. You don't need approval. You don't need applause because you built an inner strength that no one can break. A man with no friends develops self-reliance. He doesn't wait for support. He creates his own foundation. He doesn't depend on others to push him. His fire burns from within. That's why he's unstoppable, because the world can't take away something it didn't give him. In solitude, he becomes focused. No gossip, no envy, no fake loyalty around him. Just silence, and in that silence, he plans, he studies, he grows, he builds. And when he steps into the world, he doesn't come with noise. He comes with results. Understand this: betrayal only comes from those close to you. Distractions only come from the circle you keep. But when you walk alone, you are free. Free from lies, free from weakness, free from anything that can slow you down. That's why a man with no friends is a force of nature. Because nothing can stop a man who depends on no one. There's a reason the strongest men you'll ever meet move different. They don't chase validation. They don't beg for company. They don't need a crowd behind them to feel alive. They stand firm, even if the room empties out. See, independence is where real strength is born. When you've got nobody to lean on, you learn to lean on yourself, and that creates a power no one can shake. Think about it. Most people don't really know who they are because they're always surrounded by noise. Friends telling them what's cool, society telling them what's acceptable, social media telling them who they should be. But when you step away from all that, when it's just you and your thoughts, that's when you meet the real you. That's when you discover your true voice. There's a story of a man who grew up in the roughest part of town. No support system, no guidance, no one to call when life got heavy. At first it felt like punishment. But over time he realized something. Every time he fell, he had no choice but to get back up by himself. Every time he was broke, he had no one to bail him out, so he had to figure out ways to make it work. And every time the world turned its back, he faced the storm alone. The lesson he carried: nobody could break him because nobody built him. That's independence. That's unshakable. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. That's a quote that captures the essence of independence. When you learn to stand on your own, failure becomes less scary because you know you can recover without a helping hand. It's like building muscle in the gym. At first, the weight feels impossible, but the more you push through, the stronger you get. Independence is the same. The more you handle on your own, the stronger your spirit becomes. And here's the truth: when you're independent, you're dangerous because you're unpredictable. People can't control you with approval or rejection. You don't crumble if nobody claps for you. You don't fold if nobody believes in your dream. You keep moving because your engine runs on self-belief, not outside validation. That makes you unstoppable. Now let's talk about silence. In a world that worships noise, silence is underrated. But silence is power. When you sit in quiet, when it's just you and your thoughts, the world slows down. You start hearing things you've ignored. You start noticing patterns you missed. And in that stillness, you find clarity. The most dangerous moves are made in silence. Think about a seed buried underground. Nobody sees it. Nobody claps for it. Nobody even knows it exists. But in silence, it takes root. It grows. It prepares for the day it will break the surface and rise into something unstoppable. That's how power is built: quietly, patiently, away from the spotlight. There's an old story of a monk who would spend hours every day sitting in silence. People thought he was wasting time. But when problems hit the village, everyone came running to him. Why? Because while the world was busy making noise, he had been sharpening his mind, strengthening his spirit, preparing himself to handle the storms. Silence had made him wise, and wisdom made him powerful. Here's another truth: silence protects you. When you're always talking, always sharing your plans, you make yourself vulnerable. People can doubt you, discourage you, steal your ideas, or use your words against you. But when you move in silence, nobody knows what's coming. They only see results. And results speak louder than any words ever could. Move in silence. Let your success make the noise. That's not just a catchy line, it's a survival strategy. When you stay quiet, you control the narrative. Nobody can interrupt your grind because they don't even know what direction you're moving in. Silence also builds discipline. Sitting alone with your thoughts isn't easy. Most people run from it. They blast music, scroll endlessly, surround themselves with people just so they don't have to face their own mind. But the man who can sit in silence learns to control his emotions. He learns to face his fears head on. And that discipline turns him into a weapon, calm on the outside but powerful within. Think about lions. They don't roar all day to prove they're lions. They move quietly, watching, waiting, calculating. And when the moment is right, they strike with precision. That's how you need to operate. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. And the beautiful thing about silence, it gives you focus. Without the chatter of friends pulling you in every direction, without the noise of people's opinions in your ear, You can lock in on your mission. You see your goals clear. You take steps that actually move you forward, not sideways. You stop wasting time proving yourself and start spending time improving yourself. The man with no friends understands this better than anyone. He doesn't waste time in meaningless conversations. He doesn't let gossip or envy slow him down. His silence becomes his shield, and his independence becomes his sword. With those two combined, he becomes unstoppable. Let me tell you something real. There was a fighter once who trained in complete isolation. No entourage, no big gym full of cheerleaders, just him, a bag, and his willpower. The world laughed at him, said he had no chance, said he was wasting his time. But while they laughed, he worked. While they doubted, he sharpened his skills. And when fight night came, he walked into the ring alone and left with the belt. That's what silence and independence will do for you. They turn the doubters into spectators of your victory. So don't fear being alone. Don't fear silence, embrace it. Because when the noise fades and the room empties, that's when you discover your real power. That's when you find out what you're truly made of. Independence will build your strength, and silence will sharpen it. Together they will make you unstoppable. Mastering the world outside of you means nothing if you haven't mastered the world inside of you. The greatest wars are not fought with armies or weapons. They're fought in the silence of your own mind. Every doubt, every fear, every weakness lives inside of you, and until you learn to conquer those battles, you'll always be held back. Self-mastery is what separates the unstoppable from the ordinary. You ever notice how people who can't control themselves are always controlled by others? A man who can't master his temper becomes easy to manipulate. A man who can't control his habits becomes a slave to them. A man who can't discipline his time will watch life pass him by. That's why self-mastery is the real power. When you're in control of your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions, there's nothing the world can take from you. There's an old story about a warrior who trained for years, not just with his sword, but with his mind. His teacher told him, if you can't sit still for an hour without moving, you'll never win a battle. At first, he laughed at the idea. What does sitting still have to do with fighting? But as time went on, he realized the truth. The man who can master himself can outlast the man who only relies on brute force. Because strength fades, speed fades, but discipline, that lasts forever. Conquer yourself, and you conquer the world. That's more than just words, it's reality. The world will always test you. People will try to provoke you, tempt you, drag you into chaos. But if you've mastered yourself, you can't be shaken. You stay calm when others panic. You stay focused when others lose direction. That calmness makes you powerful. That focus makes you unstoppable. Most people spend their lives pointing fingers at the world. They blame circumstances. They blame the system. They blame other people. But the man who has self-mastery doesn't waste time blaming. He knows that the only thing he can truly control is himself. So he takes responsibility. He takes ownership. And that ownership gives him freedom. Because once you stop blaming the world, you start building your own. There's a discipline that comes from walking alone. When you don't have friends to distract you, you become more aware of your patterns. You notice when you're wasting time, when you're slipping, when you're not living up to your own standards. And instead of covering it up with noise or company, you face it head on. That's how growth happens. Alone but honest. Alone but accountable. Alone but stronger every day. Self-mastery also means mastering your desires. The world is full of temptations designed to pull you away from your mission. Quick money, fake friends, empty pleasures. But when you've trained yourself to delay gratification, when you've taught yourself to say, not now, to the easy path, you unlock a power most men will never know. Because success doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most disciplined. Now let's talk about the lone wolf mentality. Wolves are stronger together, right? But the lone wolf is different. He's forced to survive without the pack. He hunts alone, fights alone, and moves on instinct. Because of that, he becomes sharper, hungrier, more dangerous. A man who learns to operate like a lone wolf develops a mindset that no crowd can teach him. When you move like a lone wolf, you stop expecting loyalty from people who don't even know what loyalty means. You stop putting your trust in hands that are waiting to drop you. You realize that the only protection you need is the protection you build within yourself. That's not bitterness. It's clarity. Because when you stop expecting from others, you stop being disappointed. Better to walk alone than with a crowd going in the wrong direction. Those words are truth. Too many people are afraid to break away from the pack, even when they know the pack is headed toward destruction. They stay because they're scared of being lonely. But the man with the lone wolf mentality isn't afraid of the dark. He isn't afraid of silence. He isn't afraid of standing apart because he knows his path doesn't require a crowd. It requires courage. Think about innovators, leaders, fighters. Almost all of them had to walk alone before anyone believed in them. They were laughed at, doubted, and left out. But while everyone else followed the herd, they followed their vision. That's the lone wolf spirit, the willingness to endure isolation in exchange for transformation. There's a story of a boy who was abandoned by his friends when life got tough. Instead of breaking him, It made him sharper. He started moving alone, studying while others partied, working while others slept. Years later, the same people who left him behind came back asking for help because the boy who was once alone had become a man with power. That's the irony of life. When you embrace solitude, you build something the crowd can't ignore. The lone wolf mentality also makes you unpredictable. Crowds move in patterns, but the man alone can change direction anytime. People can't guess his next move because they don't know his mindset. That unpredictability is a weapon. When you move without broadcasting your every thought, nobody can stop you because nobody knows where you're going. And let's not forget hunger. The lone wolf is hungrier because he has no backup. There's no safety net, no one to fall back on. That hunger pushes him harder, makes him sharper, forces him to find ways to win. People with too much comfort become soft, but the one who has to fight for everything develops an edge that never dulls. So what do independence, silence, self-mastery, and the lone wolf mentality all have in common? They all take you away from the crowd and force you to rely on yourself. They strip away the noise, the excuses, the fake support, and leave you face to face with the only person who can truly change your life, you. When you combine self-mastery with the lone wolf mentality, you create a force that doesn't bend to the world. You don't get distracted by temporary pleasure because you've mastered your desires. You don't get trapped by fake loyalty because you've chosen to walk alone. You don't break under pressure because you've trained yourself to be calm in storms. And you don't stop moving because your hunger never lets you. That's why a man with no friends can't be stopped. He's independent, he's silent, he's disciplined, and he's dangerous like a lone wolf. He's not waiting for the world to validate him. He's building his own world step by step, day by day. So remember this, solitude is not weakness, it is power. A man with no friends is not lonely. He is focused, and when he sets his eyes on a goal, no one can stand in his way. Because the man who walks alone walks with destiny.